Game preservation is truly something that we can't get enough of. People are constantly asking for it, and developers don't always really go for it, mainly because it can take a lot of time and resources from them. So it's obviously huge when we see a big effort that comes in the form of game preservation from not just one, but 4 very big Japanese companies. Now, these are Square Enix, Capcom, Taito, and Sega. I don't know about that third one, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have not heard of Taito. Okay, Taito. I just looked it up. I totally am showing how bad I am at pronouncing things there. But yeah, despite my dumb lack of knowledge of Taito, these are basically 4 very big, very influential Japanese video game companies. And here's the thing. Late last year in December of 2024, they were in a sort of presentation that was at something called SIGGRAPH Asia 2024. Now, I had not heard of this. I don't know if you have either. Chances are you probably haven't, because the thing is, sometimes things like these are not picked up by, Western audiences. If it happens in Japan, sometimes it takes weeks or even months for it to reach these audiences. And so gamesindustry.biz, they brought my attention to this. They just wrote an article on this. So of course I had to look up the original, and yeah, it is quite a big presentation. It's a big layout of information. Basically what it is, it's these 4 companies that are talking about basically their game preservation efforts, and this was just a few months ago, so it is very recent. Now the article talks about it, and there are even screenshots that it looks like somebody took while they were doing the PowerPoint presentation, so you can look at those as well. But it goes through each of these 4 companies, and it talks about their preservation, kind of what they're doing specifically in the realm of preserving game development material. So Square Enix, for example, this one is actually kind of interesting. Like, the thing that stuck out to me the most was them talking about how they actually used Dragon Quest IV as kind of a development tool for AI when AI was just a baby. And essentially, yeah, it says that Square Enix basically shaped the history of game AI development. So I guess they kind of preserved these actual efforts for AI to kind of learn from this Dragon Quest game. I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, as for Capcom, this is something that to me is really exciting. I think that, and I've said this before, the future of game preservation is digital. There's no question about that. Yeah, I understand, you get nostalgia from having, actual stuff that you can hold in your hands, like actual game material, game discs, physical media. That is its own thing, and I definitely understand that. But when preserving pictures, videos, files, and of course games themselves, digital just really comes in clutch. And it seems like that is what Capcom is embracing. So it says that they are proceeding with the preservation of Capcom's development materials with the stance that, quote, we will digitally preserve our past assets for the present and future. And they are launching something called CIAS, or Capcom Illustrations Archives System, which is a system to manage and utilize materials and development documents from such past titles. So then Taito, they talked about their game preservation efforts as well. I had to look it up to see if I've heard of any Taito games. I have. Space Invaders, I've definitely heard of that. I think that was like the original, I think it was called Galaga. I played that game a bunch, and I think it's kind of one of those games, like the shooter is at the bottom of the screen, and you kind of move left and right. Yeah, I'm simplifying it, but you get it. And really, I mean, yes, to put Taito among these other 3 companies, obviously I am very much oversimplifying their influence they have on the gaming community in Japan, and really just how popular they are as a whole. So it's cool that they were at this presentation and talked a bit as well. And then of course there was Sega. Now what's interesting about Sega is that their game preservation efforts just began literally 2 years ago. So it says that although Sega has a long history in the video game industry, it only started preserving development materials in 2023. Now currently they are working day and night to consolidate past development materials. It says they mainly collect and manage in-house materials, digitize analog development materials, and create databases. So it talks about arcade cabinets, like they actually physically store these classic arcade cabinets like in an actual warehouse. I think that's pretty cool. And they also store stuff even before the 80s, stuff from the 60s and 70s, like when Sega made slot machines and jukeboxes. I mean, that's actually crazy that they still have stuff like that they have preserved. So overall, I always think that stuff like this this is very good, especially when it comes from very big game companies. When they are going out of their way to preserve media from their past, it is nothing but a great thing. And now we are seeing this from 4 very big, very prominent Japanese game companies.